Okay.
All right, so we are joined to start off Black History Month 2025 from Cincinnati, Ohio, by Crystal Kendrick, award-winning entrepreneur, founder of The Voice of Your Customer, founder of The Voice of Black Cincinnati. Just cannot think of a better person to start off Black History Month than her. I will put up her resume against anyone. Graduate of Temple University, graduate of North Kentucky University, and just too many accomplishments to name. So we thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule today to talk about an issue that's extremely important to me and is a great segue into our own Black Entrepreneur Black History Month project we're doing ourselves. So, Crystal Kendrick, we thank you so much. And before you get started, I will also say we're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County Schools, Madison Central High School, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. So, thank you once again for taking some time out of your busy schedule.
Well, it is certainly my pleasure. This is my favorite presentation of every year. Greg, I can't even remember how you found me, but I have been so grateful. And one year I'm going to surprise the students and actually come down and do this presentation. How's that sound?
That'd be amazing.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and get started today, ladies and gentlemen. Clap if you can hear me. Are they clapping?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you see me?
Yep, we
Can you
see
see
you.
the presentation?
We see it.
All right, here we go. So I hear that there's all gentlemen, but we're going to talk to ladies and gentlemen because this is going to be seen everywhere. So I'm so excited to hear you all. Today we're going to talk about business and Black wealth. All right. So give me a second here. The first thing I want to do is talk to you about the richest Black people in the world and really how they got there. So this is Aliko Dangote. He's a Nigerian and he has an industrial business. He's worth $11.5 billion. We
Wow.
have Mike Dungano, $6.1 billion, again from Nigeria. He owns a telecom company. Robert Smith, we all know he's the person who paid off all the student loan debt of all of the students at Morehouse College about four or
And
five
their
years ago.
parents.
It was truly, and their parents.
Yeah.
And it was truly an exercise in social science. And they have really looked at how that particular class of students have just thrived financially, professionally, and physically because they did not have that student loan debt. So that was an amazing experience. So Mr. Robert Smith here in America. Mr. David Stewart, he owns the largest Black-owned business in the United States. He's worth $4 billion. Mr. Abdul Samad Manufacturing Company, of course, Oprah Winfrey is $2.7 billion. She owns a media company. Strive owns a British tech business at 2.4 billion, and Patrice, who happens to be male, owns a South African mineral company, and he's worth $2.3 billion.
And I just think it's
Now,
interesting. Nobody on
eh,
that list is a
mhm,
rapper. Nobody is a pro athlete. So this mindset that if I'm black, the only way I can be successful and rich is to be a celebrity is completely false. Now, obviously, we have some athletes in here. We want to support them on their journey into college, wherever they play, but that does not need to be the focus on where
mhm,
they will be. Well,
mhm. Yeah, exactly. And those athletes who are on the billionaires list, they just not at 2.3 billion, made their money by things other than athletics. And many of the rappers the same way. People think that 50 Cent made all his money from rapping. No, he made his money because he invested in mineral vitamin water, right? So don't forget that. Don't forget that it's how you people get rich by borrowing other people's money and using other assets. It's definite you cannot work enough hours to be rich. You have to have other things. You have to be making money while you sleep. And if that doesn't happen, you're going to struggle to get to this list. But I feel confident, Mr. Pike. I mean, I call you Greg. I'm sorry. I don't. that we have somebody in your classes and some of these videos that have been seen that inspires somebody in your class to be on this list. All right? Any questions?
We're going to get to them. They're coming up with
I
some right
also
now.
think it's interesting that, okay, I think it's also interesting that we only have two Americans on the list. And the top two and three in total are from Nigeria. Who knew that? But they seem to be very industrialized, very educated, and very entrepreneurial. So there you go. All right. Do we have questions?
We're going to get to them.
Okay, that's fine. How much time do I have?
I will never limit you.
All right. So now let's talk about some of the richest Black Americans, right? So now this might be getting, old, but Kanye West is one of the richest Black Americans. And although he was a rapper, he made his money off of those shoes, right? Remember that. Michael Jordan, he made his money off of the sneakers. Topi Awanda, he created Calendly. That is a calendar system that connects people across the country and across business so that we can determine times to meet. He's
I
worth
did not know that.
1.4 billion and he's relatively
Yeah.
he's relatively young. Jay-Z, 1.4 million. Jay-Z hasn't made a song in 15 years or more. I don't know when's the last time he made a song. Seemed like it's been that long, right? So it's not about that. Tyler Perry film conglomerate. If anybody saw the documentary of his life, I didn't realize that he made like 25 television shows. And that doesn't include the movies and other things that he's done. So I just had no idea.
Wow.
LeBron James, again, he comes from basketball, but he made his money in investments and other things of that nature. Billionaire, but he made his money in fashion and promotion. And then we have Magic Johnson, and he's like another 1 billion. That should be a one in there. I'll have to correct that before I send it off. And he made his money after he left the league. If you don't remember, he left the league relatively early because of his AIDS diagnosis. But he has the Magic Johnson movie theaters, he has the restaurants, he has all of these entrepreneurial ventures. And one person who I'm surprised is not on the list is um, Shaquille O'Neal. Shaq has sneaker brands in Walmart. He has all kinds of investments. And so if he's not here now, he will certainly be on the list soon. Now, the richest Black person in America has $2 billion. I would take $2 billion for sure. But compare that to the richest white person in the world at $272 billion. And that was in 2021. Who knows what it is now? Right?
Yeah, I mean,
so just imagine your potential. Yeah. Just imagine your potential. All right. We're okay?
Oh, we're good.
Any questions?
We're going to get to them.
All right. So let's
they're
talk
handing
about
them to me.
Okay. They're handing to you. Perfect. Let's talk about the largest Black-owned businesses in America. So Worldwide Technology is owned by David Stewart. The revenue is $17 billion. He has 10,000 employees globally. It's a privately held company, and he works with IT products and services. You can never go wrong with technology. Okay. Then we have the Act One Group, which is owned by a lady. She's $1.1 billion, 2,600 employees globally, and she provides staffing services. The Bridgewater Group, Mr. Ron Hall Sr., 2,400 employees, $2 billion in revenue, and he does automotive parts, widgets. Coca-Cola Beverage Florida has about 5,000 employees with more than $250 million in revenue, and he does beverage bottling and warehousing. Modular Assembly Innovations, 281 employees, $1 billion in sales. Billy Vickers, and he does automotive parts. Thompson Hospitality, 6,000 employees globally, $600 million annual sales,
Wow.
food and facility management. We've heard of Urban One, 1,000 employees. Kathy Hughes, 484 million. I don't think she still owns that business, but we can look into that a little bit later. And then my dear friend Stephen Hightower, his business is located right here in Southwest Ohio. He is a very good friend. 45 employees in North America, $450 million petroleum products. One thing that I will say about Stephen, and he's very fortunate, Stephen has I don't know, about four or five children, or a combination of children, nieces, nephews, etc. And these individuals, he has now set them up with their own types of businesses aside from Hightower's Petroleum. So basically, every leader in his family, every leader in his organization has their own business. One is the construction company, one is an electronic vehicle company, one is a cleaning company. I mean, it's just all over the place. And so think big, think big. You know, many of us think we can just do one thing, but you have to think big. And when you think big and you apply yourself, it will work. I'm sure that every one of these business owners will tell you about a time when they were completely overwhelmed. They either had too much business and couldn't handle it, or didn't have enough business and had to make tough decisions, had to make, their business model wasn't working, their product, goods, or services weren't needed in the same way, they had to pivot. All of those things happen. But if you stay the course, you will reach these numbers. All right? All right, let's talk about the largest Black-owned businesses by industry. Okay? So the lion's share of Black-owned businesses are in healthcare and social assistance. That is 28% of those businesses are Black-owned, right?
Wow.
Healthcare and social assistance. Yep. Now we have professional, scientific, and technical services. 13.9% of those businesses are Black-owned. Administrative and support and waste management and remediation services. 7% of those businesses are owned. So we have other services, things except public administration, which is large, transportation and warehousing, retail and trade. You can just see it, construction, accommodations and food services, real estate, arts and entertainment. What hurts my heart is that we don't have a lot of STEM services where we excel. And we don't have any businesses that are perceivably capital intensive, like manufacturing or distribution, mass transportation. And so when you think about your businesses, first of all, definitely think about what you're good at, right? You have to be good at something. But I will tell you, I have a very good friend, Mr. Melvin Gravely, and he has a business degree. He's never worked in construction in his life, but he was such a good business person that he has grown to have one of the largest construction companies in all of our region. And he's never picked up a hammer. So my message to you is do something that you like, but also become a good business person. Because when you become a good business person, you can do anything that you want. You can do anything that you want. All right? So let's talk about facts about Black-owned businesses. 2.7% of all U.S. firms have a majority Black ownership. Only 161,000. Now, these are businesses with employees outside of the home. We have a lot of solopreneurs, but you can't get rich by yourself. You have a job if you're by yourself. Okay. Atlanta has the highest rate of Black-owned businesses in the US. Portland, Oregon has the lowest rate. Nearly 3 in 10 Black-owned businesses are healthcare and social assistance industries. 39.1% of Black-owned businesses are women. Hey, hey, hey. Black and African American majority owned firm provided income to roughly 1.4 million workers in
Wow.
2021. That's $56 billion in annual payroll. The majority of Black business owners have a college degree. Now, I can tell you that not every business owner had a college degree when they started. But what they had was a vision, and they knew that they needed that education to excel. All right. So think about that college education. And for most Black and African American majority owners, their businesses are the primary source of their income. Right. So some people have businesses and it's not their primary source. They might have a part-time business, they might have investments, they might have retirement, they might have Social Security, they might have all of these things that add to their household income. But for most of us, what we eat is what we hunt is what we eat. Okay? Now let's get to questions.
Well, a couple things that I wanted to talk about, and I'm glad that
Mhm,
you mentioned some of this stuff because you mentioned about you talked about how one person on there doesn't have a degree. He owns a construction company, but that's not his background. Something
mhm,
that we've seen is I had a guest here one time. She's a doctor here in the area.
mhm,
She was the first Black woman to own a GI business in the state of Mississippi, and she had been taught her whole life how to be a doctor. She knew how to take care of patients. She had been through med school, had all these academic achievements. She opened her own business and realized she didn't know anything about running a business. So I agree with the fact that look,
mhm,
find something you love. We have some great business concepts in here that they've done for class.
mhm.
But what are some things that they can do to learn a business before they just jump into it and find themselves overwhelmed?
A couple of things. Number one is continuous education. You you have to follow these in your industries and your passions on social media. Stop fooling around with these celebrities and what they're wearing and he said, she said, and all this old kind of nonsense. You use social media to your advantage. Follow your industry groups. Follow the youth industry groups. Follow the influencers who teach you how to be better in those skills and services. Use social media to follow strong business leaders and what they do. And there's all kinds of feeds out there about the habits of highly successful people. Do that. Pick up a book, read a book about business. You must continue to educate yourself about the art of business, not just about the skill or trade that you provide. You also have to engage and talk to some other people. I hope that you have some bookkeepers on your roster. I hope that you have some accountants on your roster. I hope that you have some marketing people who are going to tell people how to market their small businesses on the roster. I'm sure you do because I know you. But listen to these people and ask very poignant and meaningful questions that can help you grow your business. And then, of course, there's always artificial intelligence. So Chat GPT, Claude, Open AI, you name them. It's a whole bunch, Perplexity, it's a whole bunch of them out there. Use those tools to learn and perfect your business and stop fooling around with that junk on TV. One thing that you will notice, it takes all we have to watch the news. I can't watch any of these shows. I don't have the time. right? I don't have the time or the bandwidth because I need to use my spare time to grow my business and to take care of my health and to get some exercise in and to get some sleep, what your body needs.
That's
All
awesome.
right.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned that because that's something I say a lot. Back in October, we got the privilege to have Dante Lee, the founder of Black Business and BlackNews.com, join us, and he mentioned the same
Mhm.
thing. He was like, "You have so many resources. It is amazing how much time people waste." Because look,
Mhm.
and I'm a big sports fan. I like following athletes on social media, but I also try to find things that are positive. I try to find things that'll help me. And I tell the story all the time, and I know they get sick of hearing it, but I'm a huge fan of Jasmine Sullivan, but she has a
Mhm.
song that just makes me mad because she talks about I'm going to move to Atlanta, open a business, and be rich. And I'm like, it doesn't work like that because you talk about
Mhm.
the financial aspect, you talk about the planning aspect. You can have a great concept, but that doesn't mean that you've done the proper planning to open a business.
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Do we have any other questions?
Well, one thing I wanted to talk about before I get to their questions is give us a little background about you because you've made national headlines and done national news stories about the voice of your customer, which you started as a marketing firm to help businesses, and also you're head of the famous publication, The Voice of Black Cincinnati. So just tell us a little bit about those because they're both just doing incredible and have garnered attention from all over the country.
Well, thank you so much. So I was working in 2007, probably before everybody on this call was born. And I was working in corporate America. And this was pre-diversity and inclusion, pre-everything. And while my work was outstanding, I struggled to have meaningful engagement with my peers. We didn't have any of the same lived experiences. We didn't live in the same neighborhoods. Other than work, I had nothing to talk to them about. And that became a downfall for me. And so when that happened, I decided, and also more importantly, I was trying to bring or help my company understand the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that just wasn't working well. So I decided that I needed to take my talents to myself, and I just started doing small jobs for secret shopping with some of my friends who owned, eateries and restaurants and any other small business that would allow me to do an analysis of their staff or their competition. And that just took off. Then I became registered to do business with government agencies, and those opportunities presented themselves. And then I kind of grew from my TV room to my living room, and from my living room to it was my living room, dining room, TV room, like all of that. All I had left was a bedroom and a kitchen and a bathroom, and the bathroom was shared. And so we did all of that. And then I started hiring people. So life was grand, but we also have one of the things we do is media and outreach. So we help people understand how they can engage with diverse populations. Unfortunately, at the time, our local media was not highlighting positive Black news stories. The only way that Black people got on the news is if they were bleeding or they were sports. It was crime or sports, crime or sports. And so what do entrepreneurs do when they fill a void, when there's a hole in their plan? I said, I can't be dependent on the media anymore. I have to do this myself. And so in
Wow.
2016, exactly on Valentine's Day, so it's coming up, will be, I don't know, nine
Nine
years
years.
here
Wow.
or longer. Um,
Longer. Um,
9 years that we have had this media platform called the is designed to educate, recognize, and create opportunities for African Americans in the region. And so that's how our businesses have started. I start hiring my workers in the ninth and 10th grade. So if you all were in Cincinnati, you would have a chance to work with us because that's when we start hiring people. And it's through, do you all have like a summer youth employment program that places youth in local companies?
We do not, but we do have at our career center, in 10th or 11th grade, they can start getting in this program. They do have a co-op where they have a class where they have a job and they get a grade for their work hours. And that's a great program
Mhm.
we have at our Madison County Career and Technical Center, which they can do in high school.
Yeah, well, our city and county have these summer youth employment programs where they will pay the wages of the students for them to work in local companies. And so that's how we get most of our people. And so my administrative assistant, she did when she was 14, right?
Wow.
Can you believe that? And so 14 and 15-year-olds can work. They can have meaningful work. She works remotely now. She's in college. She's been with us for several years. She's in college now, getting ready to graduate. Um, and she'll probably, stay with us for as long as she likes. So don't, look at your summer internships and your works as ways to build your skill and understand your deficiencies and identify resources and all of those things.
Absolutely. Well, I do have some questions from the students. I get to as many of these as I can. And I love this
Okay.
first one. This is Tadavian Smith.
Okay.
He's a 10th grade. He's a member of our band. He's got a really cool
Hey,
business concept
hey.
working on that they're working on a gaming app in here. But he asked, you showed us the list of the most successful black businesses. What do you think it will take for you to be on that list one day?
You know what? I don't know that I will be on that list. I don't even know that that's my goal, right? Because at my age, I'm starting to look on the other side of the mountain, right? I've had more years than I will have in the future. But what I will say is you will notice that most of those businesses had tangible items, right? They were manufacturing, they were mining, they were distribution, auto parts, you name it, or they were financial investments, etc. And each of the celebrities that were on the list, they were on the list not because of their celebrity status, but more of their investments. I would have to say Oprah is probably the only one who made money in what she did, right? Everybody else made their money. Kanye West made his money in shoes. He wasn't selling that many records. So as you think about your business models, think about what you can do that has a product or a service. Those entry costs are very high. The opportunity is very strong, but that is really how you get on some of the largest lists.
Yeah, and one thing that I mentioned Dante Lee again. One thing that's been a big focus in the black community on some of these publications is the franchising, because everybody just thinks
Hmm.
McDonald's are, but there are several chains that are looking for franchise owners, which it may have a
Hmm.
little bit more of a startup cost, but the resources you get from it can be astronomical and immeasurable to be a successful business just by having the name. So franchising is really something I encourage a lot of people to look into, and a lot of 20-something-year-olds are doing it and making really good money doing it.
Absolutely. And I hear that Chick-fil-A has one of the best, franchise agreements. It's low cost, very supportive, don't work on Sundays. I mean, there are a bunch of them out there. Maybe somebody will do a grid or a chart that highlights the pros and cons, but yeah, that's a very good point. And you know what? Don't forget trades. Oh my goodness. On the Voice of Black Cincinnati, the number one business search we have is dermatologist. But besides that, is a trade person. They need an electrician. They need a plumber. They need a carpenter. They need a HVAC person. They need these trade people to come into their homes and do this work. And trades can also be corporate. You can make a lot of money as a forklift driver, as a person who works in advanced manufacturing. So those aren't necessarily entrepreneurship opportunities to start, but they can certainly become entrepreneurship, especially those residential household trades. Oh my goodness. I mean, they just, when your plumbing is broke, you have no choice but to go to whoever can call you, and you have no choice but to pay what they say, right? The same way with a mechanic. Oh, the mechanics are becoming engineers now, the way cars are designed. So look at businesses that, have an ongoing demand, that have a high demand with low barriers to entry, a 2-year degree. And a lot of these companies are so desperate for workers that they have on the job training. So they pay you to work all day and learn, and then they pay for your schooling at night. I mean, it is just a win-win situation. And those are some of the easiest, lowest barrier to entry businesses that and profitable businesses that you can open.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned HVAC because as hot as it gets in Mississippi, those HVAC guys make an absolute lick in the summer. And then we have
Oh,
3 kids with me now that are in our IT program. They're going to have IT certifications before they graduate high school. So that's another great trade,
mm-hmm,
Chris, that
mm-hmm.
is going to be for entrepreneurs. I like this question. This is Tyler Myers. He's in
Oh,
10th
and
grade.
fixing computers. I was gonna say
Yes,
fixing computers and going to people's house and setting up the Wi-Fi and the extender and oh my goodness. Just your options are endless. And if you're good at what you do and you're a good business person, you will be successful.
absolutely. This is Tyler Myers. He's in 10th grade, one of our football players. And he asked, What do
Hey,
you think? What do you think was the biggest inspiration for you to become so successful?
well, the biggest inspiration is when you're an entrepreneur, you eat what you hunt. So hunger, I had to eat every day. I had to pay my bills. So that really keeps you going. And I would have to say one thing that I've done very well is really understand who my best customers are and how to engage them, right? I hear so many entrepreneurs say, anybody can be my customer. Anybody can do this. And, anybody who breathes can use my product or service. And that's great. But if you really hone in on who your customer is, you can, and then you figure out how to engage them professionally, personally, and philanthropically, then you will have a lot of success. Let me give you examples. We do a lot of business with government agencies, and we do a lot of business with nonprofits. And a sweet contract for us is 25 to $50,000. But so in government, especially, you can have a $5,000 contract, which is no bid. They can just award that to you without going out for bid or asking anybody else for it. From $5 to $25,000, they have to ask 3 people. And then more than 50,000, they have to put it out for a bid. So $50,000 bids are fine. That's a but that's a lot of work for, the work that needs to be done. Would I do better with a whole bunch of $25,000 that don't require all that proposal work and go from there? And so what I did was I said, it's the directors of the different departments within local government who make those $25,000 decisions. Now, what do I know about these directors? Well, I know what part of town most people in their economic bracket live. I know where they go to church. I know where they socialize. I know how old they are. They're middle-aged, typically, been with the government for a while. And so when you start to know that much about your clients and who can make decisions, then you start to associate with where they are and they become your priority population. And so I would encourage you, if you are starting a business, I want you to get down to the demographics of the individual who is your absolute customer, how old they are, what their spending habits are, what their points of pain are, what their price points are, all of those kinds of things. Because when you know that about your customers, you will make money hand over fist. But if you're trying to serve everybody, then that can be challenging. Now, anybody who calls my phone can get I can work with. But when I talk about where I put my efforts to find new customers and to engage, it has to be with that particular audience.
There you
And
go.
I know that I'm very profitable.
Yeah, and also, and
I know that
we
I'm
had a
most
project about
profitable
that.
with those 25,000. Mm-hmm.
We had a project about that,
Yep.
but not only knowing
And
that, but knowing your competition.
oh, that part too. But let me say this. The bigger the contract doesn't mean necessarily the bigger the total reward. I've had some $25,000 contracts that yielded more profit than a $50,000 contract. Why? Because $50,000, I have to put together 12 copies of a 50-page proposal. I have to go do interviews. I have to wait for all the time for it to come. 25,000 in a week, I have a contract with an email, right? So think about where your profitability is as well, because larger does not always mean more profitable.
Oh, tell me about it. And then and lowest and the most sales doesn't mean the most money. One thing, the biggest mistake I see young entrepreneurs make is
No. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. So there we go. All right. Next question.
I got time for two more. This is Edward Flowers.
Yep.
He's a member of our band,
Hey,
and
Edward.
he asked, "What do
Uh-huh.
you think the next great industry a Black American will be successful in?"
Artificial intelligence. AI is taking over. And unfortunately, our community is not as actively involved in artificial intelligence as we potentially should be. And so I think artificial intelligence is a hot market. Something else that's a hot market is residential housing. Um, we just don't have enough. We haven't built enough over the years with the number of people we have, and it's just and the properties that are now blighted, and so on and so forth. It just doesn't work. And so, um, I think residential housing is a big thing. Our housing stock is very old and it needs a lot of repair, a lot of updates, a lot of energy efficiency models. So I think that's a thing. And then, like I said, the other thing is artificial intelligence, right? I think, just where that goes and what it does, and most importantly, how to use it. You can be an AI prompt engineer. You don't even need a college degree for that. And those jobs are paying six figures. And I tell people all the time, I hear so many young people say, I want to be a rapper, I want to be a poet, I want to be this. You know what? Or I want to do graffiti. Well, you know what? Translate that into artificial intelligence. If you as a rapper, you are an orator, you have the ability to tell stories through your words. You have the ability to articulate a vision that people can see with your words. That is exactly what artificial intelligence does. And artificial intelligence will allow you to express yourself and do a fine job. I hear people say that people who are very good at video games should be in, space technology and military technology, because you have the ability to follow those little things on the games all over the place. That is a skill that they need. So figure out how to translate those skills into profitability. But definitely artificial intelligence, definitely technology, anything technology based, and definitely anything that has to do with residential housing.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that because Friday we're actually having Mike Johns in Scottsdale, Arizona, the AI futurist who made the news a couple of weeks ago when he got stuck in the self-driving car at the airport. And he's one of the leaders in Black AI in the world.
Mm-hmm,
And we had Ora Tanner in another class, who's the
mm-hmm,
founder of Black Unicorn Education, an AI group down in Tampa. So that's two big areas
mm-hmm,
that
mm-hmm,
I agree. That's just really something that I think the minds in here could jump into and make some money. But I got time for one
mm-hmm.
more. It's Shavaka Page,
Okay.
and he asked, "What would you tell someone is the secret to your success if you were trying to motivate them?"
Uh, Continue to educate yourself. So many times we know we're at the top of our industry game. when we start our businesses, right? That's how people hire us because we're very good at whatever it is we do. We've gone through the schooling, the education, the experience, the trial and error. We are very good at what we do. But what happens to a lot of business owners is we now become so ingrained in everything else from human resources to bookkeeping and accounting to facilities to IT technology problems to telephone systems, right? Like all of these things that happen, and we get away from doing a good job at what we do. And so I encourage you to connect with these industry groups, connect with these professional associations, and continue to hone your skills in your craft because the industry is changing dynamically. And if you are still working with the same tools and principles that you used a long time ago, because you don't really like computers and you don't really want people to have your personal number and you don't really, all that, you're not going to be successful. You're not. So you have to stay up on your industry and you have to stay up on the technology and the tools and the ethics and the challenges and the competition and all of that thing in your industry, in addition to being experts at running your business.
Wow. Now we're almost out of time, and as always, we thank you so much for joining us. I told them before, you're one of my favorite people that's ever joined us, one of my favorite people in the world, and it's an honor for us to have someone of
Mhm.
your pedigree to join us. But before we go, a couple things. First of all, the
Uh-huh.
voice of Black Cincinnati.com, really cool stuff on there. Even if you're not in Southwest Ohio, it really highlights a lot of great people there in the Southwest Ohio area. Now they get sick of me saying this, but I think I've asked everybody the same thing. Because, like I said, I have all guys in here with me today,
Uh-huh.
and, and I know they think I'm beating a dead horse, but especially on this month, it is so important to talk about why is it so important that we have more successful Black men in our community.
Oh my goodness. One reason and a big thing that a lot of people are talking about right now are Black marriage rates. Someone from, I think the NAACP came out and said something like 79% of Black women are not married, 30% will never marry, 65% of Black men are not married, 35% will never marry. The fact that we do not have two head of households, two people in a household raising children, contributing to the finance, buying and maintaining and upgrading homes is contributing to our lack of wealth. It's contributing to our the ills that come with single parenthood, the challenges that come there, our communities, our education. It is so essential that Black men are successful because when Black men are successful, the Black race is successful. Black women can't do it on their own. This bickering and battering back and forth about who's on first and what's on second is just not good for us. And as a population, if we want to move forward, we have to do it together and we have to do it lovingly and in sync. And so I really encourage you to think about, the fact that you are successful means your children will be successful. It means your parents will have comfort and peace. It means that your loved ones will be cared for and that you will be instrumental in their lives. If you are not successful, now the successful is a definition, right? We'll talk about that. But if you are not successful, if you are not productive, if you are not happy, then all of a sudden people need to take care of you, and that's not good.
Wow.
So it's very important. It's very important for us to be successful and to follow the guidelines that the American society has set forth, which recognizes marriage, which recognizes two-parent households, which recognizes two incomes or one income that can accommodate for two. But we've got to be able to do that to sustain our race and to sustain the middle class and the livelihood of our communities.
Well, I've got a room full here with me that I think can do a great job of that. I know they're not thinking about it at 15, 16 years old, but it can happen. And they have the intelligence, they have the work ethic. They just got to believe in themselves. But again, we thank you so
Yes.
much for joining us, the founder of the Voice of Your Customer, the founder of the Voice of Black Cincinnati, multiple award-winning entrepreneur, all the way from Cincinnati, Ohio, the amazing Crystal Kendrick. We thank you so much for taking some time for us today.
All right. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, buddy. Talk to you
Bye
soon.
bye, everybody.